In the words of Aaron Rodgers, things are looking up. The Packers are one step closer to squeaking into the playoffs, and they did it in comfortable style against the Rams. We'll recap the highs and lows from that game, look forward to Christmas Day against the Dolphins, and also hear some listener feedback. All this and more coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Welcome back, friends. Wayne Henderson here with you, and even if the other things don't fall in place for our playoff chase, I gotta say, I'm loving watching these final regular season Packers games.
Absolutely, and I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and part of me is thankful I wasn't able to go to Lambeau last night. It looked way too cold, even for a Midwestern boy like myself. Regardless, what a fun game of football it was, and I'm very glad that the Packers are still alive. Here's to hoping that trend continues on Christmas Day.
And plus, there's two more home games coming up that you could still potentially go freeze at if you'd like.
There you go.
So keep your eye on those prices. On this 268th edition of your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers, we're going to recap what we loved, maybe didn't, from the Packers win over the Rams at Lambeau, and we've got some fantastic listener feedback to share with you this week.
Then we'll preview the Packers at Dolphins Christmas Day matchup. Looking forward to that one. Although, I don't know about you, Wayne, but I'm going to be watching it with some family that are not big into football, so it's going to be difficult to pay attention to the game, but I'm dedicated. We'll do it. I'll also have my keys to a Packers victory over Miami, so stay tuned for all of that. Let's jump right into the highlights from the Packers' victory over the Rams, and there were plenty of them this week. Let's talk about the leaders. First off, Rodgers, 22 out of 30 for 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Aaron Jones, 17 carries, 90 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. And Mr. A.J. Dillon, 11 carries for 36 yards, and 2 of those carries being for scores in the end zone. And also on the receiving side, Romeo Doubs was a top leader there, 5 receptions for 55 yards. You know what that means, Wayne? There was a lot of running in this game.
It was great to see. Stick with the run. Stick with the run. And look what happens.
Exactly. There was some passing, but it was all over the place. He's,
right.
He does much better when he's spreading the ball all over the place, which is really good to see. So, very happy with their performance. I hope that this trend continues with some tougher opponents in the Rams, but we got 3 more weeks to deal with that. So.
And our defense started off in fine style as well. The first defensive series forced a punt, 2 stops by Kenny Clark. We had 2 sacks as well, and it was great to hear Kenny Clark's name so often during the game because this season he's been relatively quiet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm biased, but it's always great to hear that name wherever I'm going. So that's
true.
Fantastic. Even the second series, the defense saw a 3-and-out with another sack on the second drive by the Rams. So defense was looking pretty solid. And then on the offensive side, I already mentioned Dillon's 2 touchdowns, but the first one, that 8-yard run, about the 4:26 mark in the second quarter, these are the moments that I've been looking forward to since Dillon was drafted. 8 yards, what a push he had. He kind of just dug in and made his score happen with defenders all over him. That's what I've been wanting him to do all season, and it just made me stand up and cheer when I saw him do that.
It was beautiful. And the touchdown celebration, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it was cute and it was fun to watch. AJ had another one in the third quarter as well with a solid drive done by the entire offense. And so running the ball, AJ was getting things really going. I hope everything's okay because it looked like he might be going into concussion protocol or at least checked out for it. So hoping for the best with that. And the defense, very solid overall this week. Not only were they making a lot of tackles, which is something I like to see them do, Scott. This is a huge plus. We had 5 sacks on Baker Mayfield. Quay Walker was a beast, so aggressive, and we only allowed 1 touchdown the entire game. And then the interception by Rasul Douglas in the 4th, it was almost the dagger. Kenny Clark, he interfered with Mayfield's pass, hitting his arm just as he threw it. Douglas attempted the lateral, I think. There was craziness going on there, but thankfully Amos recovered the ball. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, I know we're talking highlights. Unfortunately, that whole thing was kind of flipped around because, the very next play, the Rams stripped the ball from, I believe it was Aaron Jones, and got the ball right back again. But hey, the momentum's still pushed in our favor, so that's a good thing.
Scott, what a killjoy!
I'm not trying to bring it down, just being a realist. How about this, Wayne? Keyshawn Nixon has completely brought life back to special teams.
Yes.
He had 3 kickoff returns averaging 31.7 yards, 52 being the longest. He had 2 punt returns averaging 18 yards each, the longest being 19 yards. This is such a breath of fresh air for this team. I know that we've been kind of boo-hooing on Amari Rodgers, but I just got so used to returns, just nothing ever happening. And now I'm actually looking forward to returns again. It's just really, really great to see.
Yeah, and there was one play where it looked like he bobbled a bit, but was able to recover it. And it actually gets me really pumped up when I see a kickoff or punt return by Nixon. It just barreling down the field. And I'm like, how far could he go? That's far enough. That's plenty. We'll take it. Field position, Scott. So good.
I know it's really great. He just gets around that corner, and I think he's going to get tackles, but he's got that speed and agility to work around there and make something happen out of what appears to be nothing. And I'm loving it. What can I say? All right, Wayne, we've talked about the highs. Is it okay for me to talk about some things I wasn't too happy about now?
Now would be the proper place and time to express those opinions.
All right. I feel like we had a missed opportunity on the opening offensive drive. It started out great. I was like, where has this offense been all season? Everything was just clicking. We weren't going for the long bombs. We weren't, we weren't stopping, or we weren't passing all the time. We were doing plenty of runs. And then we got into the red zone. There was a no call on pass interference on Ramsey in the end zone, which you know me, Wayne. I want a fair game and all that kind of stuff, and I don't usually complain about missed calls, but that one, come on. that just seems so blatantly obvious to me. A little frustrating. Winds up on 3rd and goal. Rodgers is noticeably upset and gets sacked. So we have to settle for a field goal. Granted, we got points, but I really wanted to get that into the end zone, that first drive.
Yeah, especially there at the beginning of the game. It would have been fantastic. It was just a way to everything just kind of stalled. And then a little later in the first quarter, Rodgers had this really weird interception. So I guess it does get classified as an interception. It was kind of intended for Lazard, and it was either overthrown or maybe Lazard actually changed his route slightly to adjust for the safety and kind of slowed down just a little bit. The whole thing just kind of felt off, like something was not right. And then, of course, the interception happened, and it was just one of those things. I wish they could have rewound, and if there was one play in the game that we could have gotten a do-over on, that would be the play I'd want the do-over on.
I don't know. Mine is selfishly the one I would want to do over is the one that would have given me points to beat you in the wager of fun, but that's a whole. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yes, we will.
Oh my goodness! The bright side, though, look at me. See, I'm coming back talking positively.
Oh, I like this. This is a new and exciting side of Scott Clark.
The bright side after that turnover was that the defense did hold the Rams to a field goal that series. So even though it was a big bummer, they did keep them to 3 points, which is very good to see. Also, the last thing I wanted to mention in lowlights was that stupid, unnecessary roughness call on Ford in the second quarter. I mean, both players were basically to the yellow line, and he just kind of like threw the offensive player to the ground, like completely unnecessary, absolutely no reason for it. And I think even LaFleur, I saw him, pointing to his temple, and you could hear him saying, "Use your head." It was just a bonehead move.
Yeah, and that one the refs caught, surprisingly. But one that I don't think they did catch was the face masking penalty that the Rams committed against us, or maybe it was called. But the Rams player held onto the Packers face mask for an eternity. I think it's the longest I've ever seen somebody hang on to an opposing player's face mask. And I was like, that's about as blatant as you can get. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I feel like that one should have got 30 yards.
Yeah, it was so blatant it should have been a double penalty.
I think when they came back from the break, Troy Aikman actually said something to the effect of he had held a face mask held for about 7 minutes or something like that. I was like, "You're not kidding!" I've never seen a face mask go so long where the player literally has time to grab the arm of the other person and try to wrench it from the face mask. It was like, wow, that was kind of brutal.
Indeed.
Well, there you have it. That's a recap of the game. Let's go on to some listener feedback. And please join in on our upcoming podcast episodes by either calling the PFP voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO. That is +1 920-3PACK-GO. Or you can also record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. The deadline for your calls will be Sunday night, which will be Christmas Day, at midnight Eastern. We do realize that it's Christmas, so if we don't hear from you, we do understand. But please give us a call if you get a chance. We would love to hear from you. What do you got for us, Wayne?
I'm going to start off with a voicemail from listener Megan.
Go Pack, go, baby. Exciting. A.J. Dillon with the 2 touchdowns, but lots of help from other people along the way. I think Quay Walker looks awesome. I think Keyshawn Nixon looks awesome as usual. A couple penalties, but not on him, but just in general. Let's see. Okay, so it looks freezing. You can see their breath and with every breath they take. I saw Captain Jack Sparrow via Wayne. Congrats, Dan/Captain Jack Sparrow, on your Lambeau engagement. Jealous. That's amazing. Congrats. It kind of seems like Aaron is in a catch-22 much of the time. I get that, like, sometimes his eyes, like, he just doesn't see everything that we see, seems. But I know he has a different angle and a different mind. But it's like he's a catch-22 because if the line can't hold up, but the receivers aren't open, then what? So it's like he does better when he gets rid of the ball right away, but what if he has nowhere to go? And then if he waits, I don't know. What else? It's fun to see Jonesy and A.J. Dillon running so well. Really, like, the first drive was awesome. It was a bummer that it ended with that sack. I mean, ended with the field goal, but because of the sack. But it really was cool to see, like, everyone's getting touches. Romeo's getting, like, he's right back in the action, which is awesome. He clicks well, and Cobby, as usual, and Aaron are on the same page. So, let's keep it rolling, boys. Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go indeed. Thank you, Megan, so much for the call. I'm a little jealous that you saw Captain Pack Sparrow in the crowd because I felt like I was glued to my TV trying to find any glimpse of him because I know you said he was on the 20-yard line on the Rams side, and I kept looking and looking and looking. I even put my computer away. I put my phone away. I had to take notes by hand to recap the game because I did not want to miss anything, and I must have just missed it. But yes, congratulations on the engagement. If you guys haven't already, check out the Facebook group where he posted a video of him proposing to his now fiance right there in the middle of Lambeau Field the day before the game. That was really awesome to see.
So good to see the romance being brought out of Lambeau Field. Is so good. And Megan, again, thank you for the call. AR-12, bit of a catch-22 situation for him. And another shout out for how well we did on that first drive until the third down sack.
Yeah. Also, she mentioned Cobb. It's just something I didn't mention in the highlights. It was good to see them firing together really well. I think even either Aikman or Buck was saying in the announcements about whether or not he was going to be a Packer next year, and the comment that they were saying was, "Well, if Aaron Rodgers has anything to do with it, then he will be back in Green Bay." And I with as hard as he fought to get him there, and with how much chemistry they were showing last night, was I have to kind of agree with him.
Me too. So if Aaron Rodgers comes back next year, we should see Randall Cobb in the green and gold as well.
Well, let's see how this goes. Go, 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 go back, go! Woo! What a weekend. What a way to cap it all off with a Packers win. Started off with my son's first trip to Lambeau Field in Titletown. He loved it. Yesterday, as hopefully most of you have seen, I proposed to my future wife on Lambeau Field. And if you're not a part of the Packers Fan Podcast community Facebook page, you need to be. It's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to share your thoughts, your joy, your love of the Green Bay Packers football team. And then today, tailgating, hanging out with friends, meeting new friends, just taking it all in was just an amazing experience. The game, it's so hard to tell how the game's going when you're actually at the game. But a couple of things I do want to point out. Congratulations to Mason Crosby for his 255th consecutive start. I have to point out, that's 255 consecutive starts for the same team. Even Hall of Famers like Morton Anderson started for like 8 different teams. So congratulations, Mason. Also, congratulations to Aaron Jones for becoming the 3rd leading all-time rusher for the Green Bay Packers. Another awesome accomplishment. And one other thing, more on a season level, and this is something that Scott's alluded to in the past, how slowly we start coming out of a break, whether that be a bye or even just coming out of halftime. We scored coming out of halftime tonight. That is the first time that they've scored coming out of halftime in 22 consecutive attempts. That's 11 games. Whether that coming out of the first, starting the first quarter or the third quarter. So that's a major accomplishment right there. One thing I saw that Wayne said that it was a classy act to just take a knee. I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Mr. Wayne Henderson, because you wouldn't see Bill Belichick doing that. And last I checked, Bill Belichick has 6 Lombardi trophies that belong to us, really. But you need to breed, in my opinion, a culture of just going for it. Just keep going, keep driving, trying new things even. I mean, we had the game in hand. It was done. This wasn't like a situation like it was with New England and the Raiders, which also Rasul Douglas, apparently he didn't watch the end of that game when the Patriots tried to do a lateral play and ended up losing the game because they could have just taken a knee. This wasn't that kind of a situation. I'd rather see our team maybe put in Jordan Love and put in the new backup running back that we just called up when we dropped Sammy Watkins and we brought up another running back. I'd rather see them make plays. That's just me. I just want to see more chutzpah. Anyways, I just got back to the room. Need to hit the hay. It's closing in on 1 a.m. I need to get back there with my family. Love my Packers. Love the Packers Fan Podcast. And go, 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 Pack, go!
Oh, my gosh. Dan, that's an awfully hearty Go Pack Go in voicemail for being 1 a.m. Living high off the victory. I love it. And how much do you got to love having your son's first trip to Lambeau Field in Titletown? They kept showing all the great stuff around Titletown, and my mother-in-law is not familiar with it, but she was over last night and was like, wow, they've got a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, there's I've actually seen because I've been there, like the tubing hills that they've got, the side-by-side tubing hills. They showed that shot multiple times.
Yes, they did.
They've got, skating rinks right there outside the stadium. It's a really cool place to see. So yeah, definitely very, very cool that you get to take your son there for the first time. He mentioned Mason's 255th consecutive start. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't that tie Brett Favre's number of consecutive starts for the Packers?
Yes, I do believe so. And you just think about 255, because they only play 16 regular season games. Well, okay, 17 regular season games a year now. It's still going to take a while for that to add up to 255.
Yeah, I could do the quick math for you if you wanted, but you bust out my calculator. But I hate it when people say things, he's just a kicker. I don't care. He's the highest scoring player in the entire history of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
and
not
he's
too
now
bad.
got the same amount of consecutive starts as one of the greats, Brett Favre. Assuming he plays next week, he's going to be the leader in that number.
Oh, good point.
That's outstanding. So really happy for him. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Class act thing that you talk about. I know you had ulterior motives for really liking the fact that we knelt on the ball there at the end, but what did you mean by it was a classy act?
Well, I do want to clarify because it was classy of LaFleur to purposely make sure that I secured my victory this week in the Packers Fan Podcast Wager O Fun because I only missed it by 1 point. And if the Rams hadn't missed their extra point, I would have been spot on. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. That was the class part. Helping Wayne get back on the winning track so he doesn't have to try to get embarrassed playing Madden. But, that's the way it goes. And Dan, thank you so much for the shout out for the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group, which you can find at packerscommunity.com. Also, Dan posted a picture in there because you have to wear a lot of layers when the game's that cold. And his base layer was a Packers Fan Podcast t-shirt. I mean,
nice.
That's a great way to start your whole thing. And Dan added to his voicemail in the group, Rodgers stated in his post-game presser that it's the first time in 18 seasons that Aaron has ever witnessed an opponent purposefully kicking away from any of our kick returners. That says mountains about Keyshawn Nixon. That man's a stud.
Couldn't agree more. I love just being excited about returns now instead of being fearful for my life.
Please just let it go out of bounds. Please just let it roll out of the end zone. Right. Just anything. Okay.
'Twas the night before game day, and all through the room everyone was sleeping except for this loon. The boy tucked in tight, new fiancé in for the night, ready for the Packers to win on Monday night. The alarm bell rang, there was such a clatter. I need to find my long johns, I don't care if I look fatter. Away to Lambeau I drove in a flash, wondering if I had withdrawn enough cash. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but the big G above Lambeau and some spotted cow beer. Now Rodgers, now Dillon, now Watson and Jones, on Gary, on Walker, on Rudy and Dubs, to the 50, the 40, the 20 touchdown. Run away past those Rams, they all will fall down. There's no obstacle too big, to the end zone you'll fly. No need to speak trash, just straight to their work. They didn't want to look like they were big LA jerks. They sprang to the task, for they needed a win. They rose above the big Hollywood din. Giving a nod, the team they did rise. A winning plan Matt LaFleur did devise. I heard them explain as they went into the night. Thank you all Packer fans, you give us delight. You give us the motivation, the will, and the might. And Merry Christmas!
That was awesome, Dan. Thank you so much for your rendition of the Christmas poem. Very well thought out and very well delivered, man. That was pretty sweet.
Nothing like Christmas poetry. You bring in the green and gold. And it kind of reminds me of some of the great poems you've done every year on the Hollywood Outsider podcast when you bring your Christmas poetry to the show, some of which is not quite as G-rated.
Oh, no. The first one was. But yeah, they got a little bit filthier as we went along the years on that. But I got to go back and do that again one of these times.
Indeed.
Hey, I would say we have ourselves a position of interesting circumstances. I think the Packers win last night had highlights and low lights, but it was my birthday, so I can't complain. They won. Definitely saw some flashes again from Dobbs, which was really encouraging to see him bounce back, and I hope that that's just scratching the surface for what him and Watson can do out there, and I think that chemistry will only get better. Great job by Dillon last night and the snowplow plowing through those LA linemen. It's interesting to see Nixon just completely looking like a rocket after those kickoffs. It just a shame the refs last night, one call after another, and I won't go into it, but man, this season's refs are terrible. The refs and the play calling, I can't believe the decisions they're making, throwing flags and not throwing flags. It's just like extremes, one or the other. It's just really, really bad this year. Really bad. It's a poor NFL product when the refs are just causing so much effect and influence on a game. It's just terrible. But go Pack, go, and we will see you in Miami.
Awesome, Garrett. Thank you for giving us a call at +1 920 3PACK GO. And happy birthday, man. A victory on your birthday. That is awesome. I never get that because my birthday's in spring. So this is fantastic. And I like how he started out with the Packers being in a position of interesting circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, even Aaron Rodgers said in his post-game press conference that a lot of things had to go our way, and so far they have gone our way outside of us winning. That's why he said things are looking up. It is getting interesting. Just we got to keep the faith, man. Got to keep the faith. Things have to keep going our way. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that they do indeed. I don't remember. Is this a thing that I just somehow missed? Has A.J. Dillon been known as the snowplow? Because if not, I think that's a fantastic moniker for that dude. It's great.
I have not heard that before. I've heard him called Quadzilla, but maybe now that it's December and then into January, he can be the snowplow.
I like that. I mean, it makes sense. The frozen tundra, the snowplow. I'm kind of surprised that's never been another player's thing. I mean, Gilbert Brown was the grave digger.
That was epic.
We had Reggie White as the Minister of Defense. Have all these really cool nicknames and stuff, and nobody's ever taken the snowplow. Maybe it's because we haven't been a running first team for so long. Now that we've actually got a running game, we got to give somebody that name. I hope that thing sticks because that's amazing.
Let's do our part to make sure that it does. There's only probably 10 teams in the NFL that could even lay claim to having a player that's a snowplow. Maybe in Buffalo where they get a lot of snow. And sorry for the Lions and the Vikings. You play in domes, so no snowplow for you.
I was just going to say that as well. Chicago, they're in. They can own the rain one after that game where they won, where they're sliding across on their stomachs, and they can have the raincoat or something like that. We'll be the snowplow.
The raincoat. Okay, love it. Let's check in with our weekly poll that we post in our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com as well as on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod. Basically, I want to know, how confident are you in our Packers getting a win on Christmas in Miami? Can you almost guarantee that we get a win? Or will it be a stressful but victorious day? Or would a win against the Dolphins be a Christmas miracle?
Oh, you're not going to like my answer, Wayne. I think that a win against the Dolphins will be a Christmas miracle for a myriad of reasons we'll get into when we talk about the game. But I think that they're going to struggle a lot. They're not going to be in the cold anymore. They're not going to be at home. And just there's too many things going in the Dolphins' favor right now. So I'm hoping for a win, obviously, but I think it's gonna take a miracle.
Wow, I would not go that far. I think it'll be stressful, but we will come out on top. And the votes that came in, 46% agree with you. I'm surprised 46% say that a win would be a Christmas miracle. And then 40% said it'll be a stressful victory, but only 14% of the people that voted said that they can practically guarantee a Packers victory.
Well, we had some comments in our Facebook group that you can check out. We recommend doing so, and you can find that at PackersCommunity.com. There was a post in there about how Mason Crosby, there you go, is now tied with Brett Favre's for the most consecutive starts in franchise history at 255. So thanks to who posted that. Also, it looks like I had a post about an odd Verizon or an odd promo by Verizon, which includes Netflix and NFL Plus combo deal. I think it's like $25 for the year, which even if you were just going for Netflix alone, that's an incredible deal. But you throw NFL Plus on top of that, and it definitely sweetens the pot. Although some of our listeners have claimed that that premium service is not really worth the money. So keep an eye out for that if you were a Verizon subscriber. Also, Dan Dowler posted pictures of his very unique view pregame front row on the 20-yard line. But even more epic than that are the pictures of him proposing to Jill while at Lambeau Field. So definitely check that out. It was very sweet. But yeah, on the 20-yard line, he was literally right in front of the press thing where they had set up a little tent there to do their pregame coverage and everything. I was like, man, that would be really cool to be there. I was a little worried for him. I thought that was something that was going to be there for the game.
Oh, that would stink because that's what I would call an obstructed view.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, is that really what it's going to be like a kickoff for you? Because, man, you front row seats, you better be able to expect to see a little bit more than that. So, yeah. Well done, man. Thanks so much for sharing the pictures. We really do appreciate it.
And those were great. So be sure to check those out at PackersCommunity.com. And also, fans and listeners, fans of the Packers, we want to know how you became a fan of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. Share it, record it, so we can share it here on the podcast. Give us a call at +1 9203-PACK-GO or email your audio recordings to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. We want to know and we want to share how you too became a fan of the Green Bay Packers.
Moving on to emails. We've got our first one, and it says here, greetings, Wayne and Scott, Jared in Colorado. Man, it's nice to just watch a Packers game and be able to sit back and relax the entire time. I feel like those have been far and few between this season. The offense may have been a bit inconsistent like they have been all season, but even when drives didn't culminate into scores, they dominated in every facet of the game. They were better in total yards per play, and time of possession, 37 minutes to 22. The defense showed a level of aggression and efficiency that we definitely need to see more of if the team is going to run the table. 5 sacks and an interception? I'll have some more of that. And LaFleur once again listened to Scott's keys to victory and stuck with the running game. Finally.
I love it.
Special teams? I'm actually excited to see kick returns now with how much Keyshawn Nixon has pumped life into the Packers' return game. It feels like every week he's getting closer and closer to just running one all the way in for a TD. I wish Amari Rodgers all the best, but it has been an absolute game changer with having Nixon return kicks, and I cannot wait to see more. The game was not without its lowlights, although thankfully this list is small. The aforementioned offensive inconsistencies could bite the team in the butt if they do manage to squeak into the playoffs. There were 80 penalty yards committed by the team, which again is not ideal at this point in the season. And while they cleaned most of it up in the second half, the first half had more third down woes, whether it be Rodgers getting sacked or the defense allowing third and long conversions. All of that being said, I love being able to write in about a win. And what's this? Playoffs? Is this hopium I smell? If more games in the division go to teams that way and the Pack keeps winning, I'm all for playoff hype train. Go Pack go, green and gold till I'm dead and cold. Until next time, have a very Merry Christmas, Wayne, Scott, and the rest of the PFP community.
Oh, that was
Thank you very much.
So good, Jared in Colorado. And yeah,
absolutely.
It's too bad Jared's not coming out to Southern California again this Christmas, because we could meet up again for lunch, have a brewski and a great meal, and talk some great Seinfeld quotes. But maybe next time.
Yeah, loved your email, man. Thank you so much for that. And to everybody else, as always, your calls, emails, comments, and support are so much a part of what we do over here. Thank you very much. Remember to join the PFP Facebook community and be part of the conversations at PackersCommunity.com.
And now let's get ready for Christmas. Your 6 and 8 Green Bay Packers are getting out of the cold for a bit, heading down to Miami, Florida to play the 8 and 6 Dolphins on Christmas Day, December 25th, in case you didn't know. And it's at high noon Central Time, and something is seriously wrong here, Scott, with the series. The Dolphins lead the series 10 games to 5. Wow.
It's still shocking to me that there's only 15 games. I always forget that the Dolphins were such late in the league.
Right. But it does seem like they've been around a long time, because every year, as long as some team goes undefeated for a little while, they talk a bit more about the Dolphins. So a lot of the fact that they are 10 and 5 against us all time is due to us not playing the Dolphins until 1971. And if you remember, these weren't the Packers' best of times. In fact, Miami beat us the first 8 times we played against them. We didn't even beat them until September of 1997. And then we were victorious in 5 of the next 7 games. So the tides have turned, and I hope that continues. There's really not much else that I could find in this very limited series, except for, thank goodness, we've turned the tables.
Yeah, and let's hope we tilt that back in our favor a little bit this weekend, because we definitely need it.
Yeah, and the weather, it looks like Miami weather for Christmas Day, a high of about 56 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be about 13 degrees Celsius. There is a chance of rain, but we'll see what happens.
At this point, I'm hoping for some rain, man, because that's what we're going to need.
Really?
Need that
equalizer
that weather to help us out. Yeah, I think that'll help us out. So.
Okay.
But are you ready for some Packers to a victory over the Dolphins?
Yes, I am, because you sounded a little skeptical earlier in the show. So let's find out how the Packers can turn that into sunshine and happy days.
Well, let me tell you, the first key and one of the biggest reasons that I'm nervous about going into Miami is I worry that the Packers are not going to remember who we played this week. Sure, this victory over the Rams feels great, but keep in mind, they're the Rams. The Super Bowl champs have had an even rougher year than the Packers, especially due to multiple injuries on each side of the ball. The fact that we didn't defeat a team like that by more than 2 scores should not give confidence going into this week. They should expect a much tougher competitor who will be at home instead of the frozen tundra, which was another advantage we had last night. Keep the playoff mentality alive through all 4 quarters and don't get cocky against the Dolphins. They were a much better team than the Rams. And I'm not going to say we squeaked by the Rams, but if we were that high quality of a team, we would have beat them by a lot more than what we did.
On the other hand, at the very end of the game, if LaFleur hadn't been so classy to help me out, we would have won by 3 scores.
Okay, fair enough. Strategy number 2, accept that mistakes will happen. Although Rodgers was definitely smiling more this week than in the past couple months, he was still easily frustrated with his younger receivers. As a leader, I'd like to see him be more supportive instead of berating them for all the world to see on live national television. Constructive criticism is far more beneficial than yelling at the guys or rolling your eyes, which he only did a couple times, but still. With that said, there really isn't much room for mistakes this week, but if you want them to happen less frequently, negative reinforcement isn't going to help build that team camaraderie, and I think that is so important for the Packers, and it always has been. Strategy number 3, prepare for fireworks. The Packers are obviously in a must-win situation, but so are the Dolphins. Sure, we need it more than they do, but the Packers should expect them to be very hungry for a win, especially after 3 losses in a row on the road. This will also be at home in Miami, and they will not be expecting a loss in the slightest. This game will purely come down to who wants it more, and the Packers have to want it more because they literally need it more. So want the win more, and you will stand a chance. And there you have it.
Thanks for putting those together, Scott. I like it. And yes, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but if the Packers follow these tools again, these keys, there will be victory on Christmas Day.
Moving on to our dreaded 2022 season wager of fun. Boy, was I robbed this week, man. Was I robbed this week? Holy
I wouldn't
cow.
say robbed. I was robbed. If the Rams would have scored one more point and not missed that extra point, I would have had to score exactly right. And I know in the past we've talked about getting double points for being exactly right, but that's not how we do it. But
we didn't talk about it. We shot it down is what we did. That's exactly what we did. So yes, the final score of the game was 24-12. Wayne predicted 24-13, which gave him a differential of 1. I predicted 27-14, which gave me a differential of 5. But even with another 3 points, it would have been flip-flopped. I would have had a differential of 1, or I would have had a differential of 2, and you would have had a differential of 4. So I would have won the game if they'd even just kicked a field goal instead of kneeling on the ball. Right. I'm calling BS, man. I think that should be a split point because there's no reason for them not to run that. Anyway, I'll get off my
Did you yell at the TV late at night last night?
I literally did, man. My wife was getting annoyed with me. She's like, why do you want? She's like, they've already won the game. Why do you want them to score so bad? I was like, because I need to beat Wayne in the wager fund. This would have tied me. And no, and she's like, are you serious? That's what you're getting upset about? I'm like, yes, we already won the game. Now let me win the other part of this. Come on.
Love
anyway.
It,
Anyway. So this week's winner with the Packers Fan Podcast listener section once again goes to Mr. Garrett Stritzel,
Wow.
who predicted 21-13, which was a differential of 4 points. That was a very he didn't do quite as well as you, but he definitely beat me. So that actually extends Garrett's lead in first place to 4 wins. He's got 2 ahead of the second place tie between David Newman and Jay Walters. And then third place, we still have a 4-way tie between Brett Connor, Alex Bartman, Dan Dyler, and Aaron Peterson. So it's still anybody's game at this point, but
wow.
definitely have a lead there.
Yeah, depending on how things go, both Garrett and I could clinch very, very soon.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's move on to our predictions for this week. It looks like I am up on the docket first. And yeah, you can hate me all you want, Wayne, but I am predicting a Packers loss this week. Does not mean I want a Packers loss. Don't look at me like that, man. Don't give me that look.
I'm like, what the? Am I reading this wrong?
No, dude. I'm being realistic here, and I got to catch up somehow. I have to catch up somehow. I'm down by 2. I could have tied with you this week, but I've got to have some way to catch up. And I think this is my best shot. But in all reality, I do think that this is going to be a tough matchup. I think the Dolphins are the better team. Do I want the Packers to win? Yes. But they're a decent running team. We don't have a great run defense. And it kind of comes down to which offense is going to show up. If the offense that played against the Rams shows up, we could stand a chance. But that was also the Rams that are just heavily injured. The Dolphins are in much better shape. So I'm going to predict the Dolphins are going to win 24-17.
If it happens to come out like that, that's the end of our playoff hopes, I think, almost for sure.
Dude, just because I'm predicting the score doesn't mean I'm rooting for it.
Well, I understand, Scott. Scott. I totally understand. But then on the other hand, I am predicting a Packers victory of Packers 24, Dolphins 22. It's going to be a very stressful game, but I do believe we're going to win. That might as well give me the clinch, and you can say pika pika on Christmas Day.
Oh, my goodness.
How do the listeners think this game's going to pan out?
Well, I'll tell you, but I want to remind everybody that if you want to get your score in, be sure to call into our PFP voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO right after the Dolphins game. Give us your score prediction for the following week, which is going to be the Vikings, correct? With the following week? Yes?
Yes. On New Year's Day at Lambeau Field, Vikings, we will get our revenge on the Purple Freaks on New Year's Day.
Yes. So we got Randy Hansen wrote in with a score of 24-31 in favor of Green Bay. Brett Connor says 27-21 Green Bay. Garrett Stritzel says 33-31 Green Bay. That is a high-scoring game. Whew. David Newman actually is with me. He thinks that Miami's going to win 35-24. Jay Walter says Green Bay 27, Miami 25, and Travis Baker. I almost said Travis Barker. I was like, wow. Travis Barker is a listener of ours, but not Travis Baker. Says
Love
Green
that.
Bay 35, Miami 28. And there you have it.
Wow, quite a few listeners there predicting a fairly high-scoring game on Christmas. This will be very interesting to see. So there will be additional selections and predictions as well in the Facebook group with the Wager Fun post that's there. But these are the early ones that came right in, and Garrett, he's on quite a roll, so maybe he knows something we don't. Packers 33, Miami 31. I love it. The NFC North, the Vikings are 11-3. They clinched the division, so they'll probably set off fireworks, put up multiple banners, brag about it for 10 years, and still not win a Super Bowl. The Lions are 7-7. The Packers are 6-8, and the Bears, 3-11. Yikes.
Yes. We also had some other NFL happenings that caught our eye this week. What a crazy weekend of football comebacks this was. I don't know if you got to watch any of the Saturday games, Wayne, But man, I know you hate to see the Vikings win as much as I do, but they were down 33-0 at halftime, and they came back to win it in overtime, giving them the record for the largest comeback in NFL history.
Which
I mean,
I would consider it more the biggest choke job in NFL history by Jeff Saturday and the Colts.
Sure.
The Vikings, I don't think, did all that much to win it. I did see the late games on Saturday. The Buffalo Bills game was a fun one to watch in all the snow.
I didn't get to see that one, but I did get to see the Bengals, who were down 17-0 at halftime. They came back, or maybe it wasn't at halftime, but they were at one point down 17-0, came back to win, giving Tom Brady his first loss when he was winning by 17 or more in his entire career. So it's kind of nice to see someone do to Tom Brady what Tom Brady's been doing to them for the past 15, 20 years.
That's a solid point.
Also, the Jaguars also came back from behind to win in overtime on a pick six. That was a lot of fun to see. Just a crazy. It felt like wild card or playoff football on Saturday and Sunday. It was really great to see.
And the Jaguars are in a very similar position to us, except for in the AFC. They have been coming on strong the past few weeks, and the fact that they came back to beat the Cowboys, who were trying to win their division and get into the playoffs, and beat them in overtime. Other things happened later in the day, so the Cowboys did make it into the playoffs after all. But that, watch out for the Jaguars. What if it's a Packers-Jaguars Super Bowl?
Let's get through Miami first, man.
I know. I'm just saying, what if?
Yeah, that's a big what if. We also did you see this bonehead play by the Patriots?
Oh, what? I talk about somebody on that field, I think, forgot what direction they were going.
Just crazy. I feel like if you follow football in the slightest, there's no way you didn't see this play. It was on every replay everywhere. Final play of the fourth quarter, game is tied. Rather than just settling for going to overtime, the Patriots tried several laterals. You know how like you do when you're doing like a last-ditch effort to do anything to make something happen? Ball winds up in the hands of a Raider who ran back for a touchdown to win the game. They could have had an opportunity to go to overtime, and actually to stop a defense or maybe score on that opening drive, and instead they just kind of hand the ball to Las Vegas, and I just was hearing Benny Hill music the whole time watching that thing.
It was unbelievable, especially because it's Bill Belichick's Patriots. He talks about situational football all the time, and I don't know if the Patriot forgot what direction he was going, or did he forget, we're tied, we're going into overtime. For whatever reason, they went into desperation mode when they didn't have to, and it came back to bite them. Oh, my goodness.
Sure did. Man, Belichick's got to go cut some more sleeves off the sweatshirts.
That's true.
Recover from that one. Well, before we wrap things up, I would like to remind everybody about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. We just recorded a brand new episode today that's going to be released this Thursday. This time it is just Alyssa, my co-host, and I. We're talking about Christmas decorations that have a bit of video game flair to them.
What?
Yeah, some people decorate. One of my teammates, actually, his entire Christmas tree this year is nothing but video game themed ornaments. It's glorious.
Sweet.
You got to see that on our Facebook page. But we talk about whether or not we do that, and come to find out, Alyssa and I don't decorate as much as everybody else on the planet does, but that's interesting. Also, I played 2 new games. One is a remake of a classic Final Fantasy game, and I also played a first-person shooter that has a raunchy sense of humor called High on Life.
Uh-oh.
If you'd like to check any of that out, I would recommend you listen to the podcast, same place you listen to this one, or go to our website, thegamingoutsider.com.
I'm definitely going to have to give it a listen to find out if a shiny Pikachu is the Christmas tree topper.
As always, we've got the value for value model here over at PFP. Thank you so much for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via your Patreon patronage. We really do appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron and other ways to give back to the show are at packersfanpodcast.com/give back. Supporting the show at honorary Jim Ringo level, Go Pack Go, and thank you to Mr. Dan Dyler. Also, channeling Aaron Rodgers with his support, Go Pack Go, and thank you to Mr. Jay Walters.
And put her in the old vice, as Brett Favre used to say. Go Pack Go, and thank you to the Brett Favre level supporters, Scott Boers, Andre in LA, Colin Nolan from Ireland, and Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast. Also, Curly Lambeau, Go Pack Goes, and thank yous to Joe Christensen, Hank Davis from the TPE Network, and Matt Haig. If you too are interested in supporting the show, maybe even becoming a patron of the PFP, check out those details again at PackersFanPodcast.com/giveback. And it's true, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we do want you to follow the Packers Fan Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and tell your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast because, after all, Go Pack Goes rhyme with ho ho ho's. Speaking of poetry,
be sure to follow us on Twitter as well. Our handle is at PackersFanPod. My personal handle is at GoCastScott, and Wayne's is at Wayne Henderson. And to close us out, it's Patreon supporter Dan Dyler getting us ready for the Christmas Day game in Miami.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack
Go!